Hong Kong, a vibrant city blending tradition and modernity, is not just the realm of finance professionals and business elites. It's also home to a substantial population of foreign domestic workers, predominantly women, integral to the city's social fabric since the 1970s. Despite their significant economic contribution, these workers face challenges like low wages, difficult conditions, and discriminatory policies. Today, we delve into their lives, shedding light on the unseen struggles of foreign domestic workers, and emphasizing the importance of acknowledging their humanity in a city often focused on development. In prosperous Hong Kong, where the median monthly household income is $38,100, as of August 2023, a stark reality unfolds for the city's 338,189 foreign domestic workers. The majority, hailing from the Philippines and Indonesia, face a minimum monthly wage of $4,870, coupled with a $1,236 food allowance as of September 30th, 2023. Despite the city's affluence, this falls significantly below Hong Kong's statutory minimum wage of $40 per hour. Assuming an absolute minimum of 8 hours a day, though most work longer, for 6 days a week, domestic workers earn just $25 per hour, well below the established threshold. Maria's story is a window into this contrasting world and gives us a glimpse into what a foreign domestic worker's life is really like.
Gumigising ako ng madaling araw, alas 5 pa lang ng umaga gising na ako. Nagluluto ako ng almusal, hinahatid ko mga bata sa eskwelahan. Pag uwi naman, pinapakain ko lola nila at nagluluto na ng pananghalian, naglilinis, naglalaba. Nakakapagod. Minsan hating gabi pinapagplansya pa at tinutulungan ng mga bata sa English homework nila. Yung natutulog ka sa living room, kahit na may divider, mahirap pa rin. Tuwing day off lang ako pag Sunday nakakapagpahinga.
In 2018, domestic workers contributed $12.6 billion to Hong Kong's economy. Despite economic challenges, only 18% have a bank account, 85% are in high debt. Living under vague housing standards on 2-year contracts, if terminated, they must leave in 2 weeks unless finding new employment. No legal working hour legislation exists, and assuming a 12-hour day, their hourly wage is $16, well below the minimum wage. Urgent reform is needed to bridge the gap between their economic contribution and socio-economic conditions. A fair wage system should set the minimum monthly wage for domestic workers at least $7,680.
मेरा नाम जोया है और मैं एक डोमेस्टिक वर्कर की तरह काम करती हूँ हांगकांग में एक चाइनीज़ फैमिली के लिए। और लेकिन जब मैं यहाँ पे आई तो मेरा काम इतना गंदा कि मुझे ना इतना ज़्यादा काम करना पड़ता था, इतना ज़्यादा टाइम से भी ज़्यादा काम करना पड़ता था। इन्होंने मेरा पासपोर्ट भी ले लिया है और जिस फैमिली के लिए मैं काम कर रही हूँ वो मेरे साथ बहुत अच्छा सलूक नहीं करते क्योंकि मैं एक मुसलमान हूँ, मुझे नमाज़ पढ़नी पड़ती है और वो भी मुझे नहीं पढ़ने देते। मेरी ज़िंदगी यहाँ इतनी गंदी हो चुकी है और हकीकत तो ये है कि मैं अपना काम भी नहीं छोड़ सकती अब तो, क्योंकि वरना मैं अपने बच्चों को नहीं पाल पाऊँगी।
In Hong Kong, foreign domestic workers lack the right to apply for permanent residency, unlike other residents eligible after 7 years. They're also excluded from social protection schemes and government handouts. Despite these hurdles, an interviewed domestic worker remains optimistic about potential improvements in conditions and better recognition of their rights.
Sa Hong Kong government po, sana patatagin pa sana yung mga existing policies at makipag-areglo sa konsulado ng Pilipinas upang malaman nila mga hinain na mga DH. Tapos sa society po, mga employers ay dapat alamin at itaguyod nila kung ano mga karapatan ng kanilang mga DH.
This pervasive issue of exploitation and discrimination faced by migrant domestic workers in Hong Kong demands a critical examination of the interests perpetuating the cycle and those advocating for change. In Hong Kong, some employers exploit the absence of regulations on working hours and labour protections, subjecting domestic workers to extended hours without fair compensation. Businesses resist legislative changes due to concerns over increased costs, prioritising cost-effectiveness over the welfare of domestic workers. Individuals with discriminatory beliefs further contribute to the existing system by resisting reforms aimed at promoting social equality, perpetuating policies that deny basic rights and deepen social and economic disparities. A movement for change in Hong Kong, led by migrant domestic workers, workers' rights groups and advocates, calls for improved conditions, fair wages and fundamental rights. Progressive employers champion fair labour practices, while civil society, driven by activists, raises awareness, lobbies for policy reforms, and fights discrimination for a more inclusive environment. The International Labour Organization advocates for global labour standards to protect migrant workers' rights. A unified strategy is crucial to tackle poverty and inequality among migrant domestic workers in Hong Kong. NGOs and employers' associations can drive awareness campaigns, while collaborative support networks offer counselling and legal aid. Businesses should engage in corporate social responsibility. Diplomatic efforts can facilitate fair employment contracts, and media campaigns challenging stereotypes are vital. Collaborative initiatives with NGOs like the Mission for Migrant Workers and United Filipinos in HK are integral for creating a more equitable and supportive environment. Legislative changes must be driven by the government, addressing issues like living conditions and economic freedoms. The Live-In rule denies domestic workers privacy and rest, fostering abuse and hindering social participation, as revealed by a 2022 Mission for Migrant Workers survey. 30% in unsuitable conditions. Propose legislation for the choice to live out and advocate for a living allowance to fairly compensate those opting out. Addressing increased accommodation costs. Simultaneously, enforce stricter regulations and monitoring mechanisms to protect domestic workers from abuse, regardless of their living arrangements. Establish accessible avenues for reporting and seeking justice, providing a comprehensive approach to reforming living conditions and safeguarding the rights of migrant domestic workers in Hong Kong. Secondly, the 2-week rule, a substantial barrier to justice for domestic workers facing abuse, mandates finding new employment within an impractical timeframe. The Immigration Department's acknowledgement that processing an employer change takes about 4-6 weeks highlights its impracticality. Proposing the removal of this restrictive rule would grant domestic workers adequate time to secure alternative employment, aligning with international labour standards, emphasising sufficient transition periods. The 2-month processing time for a labour tribunal case, combined with visa extension challenges, poses obstacles for domestic workers seeking legal redress. Propose streamlining the process, ensuring more efficient handling of labour tribunal cases, and instituting a grace period for visa extension during legal proceedings. In the heart of Hong Kong's vibrancy, migrant domestic workers face unseen struggles, challenging societal contradictions. This isn't just a call for policy changes, but a plea for a transformative shift in our collective consciousness, recognizing their humanity. This journey towards a more compassionate and equitable Hong Kong amplifies the voices of migrant domestic workers with dignity and acknowledgement.